Meghan, Ottolini, and Justin Turpin coming to you from TD Garden right after a Celtics loss, 118-112 to OKC. And wow, what a game we got tonight, Turp. I'll just say it. The column that I just wrote for WEI is essentially OKC needs to be taken very seriously. OKC has arrived. I'm no longer going to sit here and say that's a team of young guns from out west who haven't proven themselves, who haven't gotten there yet, who haven't even made it to the finals, because the team that we saw tonight was not complete. The Celtics were not complete either. One team was missing Jalen Williams, and the Celtics are missing Kristaps Porzingis. But that team knows exactly who they are, and they commanded this game.
100%. And it feels like the conversation around Oklahoma City now is going to be very similar to what it was around Denver last year, where the Celtics, assuming they beat Sacramento in a couple weeks here, they would have beaten every team in the NBA except for one, and that'd be Oklahoma City. Last year was Denver. Now, there's a long way between now and June 5th, but the conversations surrounding those games, if it is these two, and even leading up to it on June 5th, are going to be a lot different because, like you said, Oklahoma City wasn't complete, neither was Boston, but that's a gutsy win. This game was tied at 85 apiece. Going into the fourth quarter, Jason Tatum matched SGA and vice versa. And the surrounding pieces for Boston just didn't get it done where Oklahoma's younger guys did.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, Jason Tatum finished with 33 points. SGA finished with 34. They were going back and forth all night. Like, that was a terrific matchup. Yeah. But we're going to talk a lot about the margins for this team overall and the support that Jason Tatum got from his teammates who were out on the court was just lacking in some departments. Jaylen Brown, he spoke after the game and he said this is actually the best that he's felt over the last 2 weeks in terms of his health. But he only finished with 10 points. He had a mega dunk in the fourth quarter. Yeah. Other than that, I don't think he looked like himself all night.
No, it didn't look like himself at all, really, at any point in the game, except for the fourth quarter. Like you said, he had a couple of rebounds in there, but even defensively, he just wasn't himself. He looked like a guy that's been laboring a little bit through this home stretch that wanted to play because they're big games at home, but I'd be shocked if he plays Friday night in Miami because, like you said, he didn't look himself. Drew Holiday couldn't really shoot the ball well either. And I thought he's been shooting the ball pretty well while he's been dealing with that mallet finger. It's tough when you have a split on your finger and it's on your dominant hand, but I thought it really hasn't bothered him until tonight. And Peyton Pritchard, too. I mean, they really needed his bench production tonight, and he couldn't buy a basket.
On the upside, we continue to see such great effort from Al Horford.
It's incredible.
And such great physicality, which they needed tonight because that's really what OKC brought first and foremost was the physicality. Hardenstein, I think, was driving the entire team crazy. I wrote in my column that it was essentially two teams in the backseat of a car with the younger sibling being like, I'm not touching you the entire game. And meanwhile, getting to the free throw line, 35 shots. Like, we heard that a lot in the post game, and Tatum and Brown both said, look, that's not the reason that they lost the game, but it does feel like they were stuck playing on OKC's terms. Even though they got all the 3-point shots that they wanted, they weren't falling.
And Jaylen Brown admitted it after the game. The tougher team sets the rules, and that was Oklahoma City from the start. And a lot of people are going to look at the free throws, and a lot of that has to do with the 3-point volume from Boston. They shot 63. That was a franchise record, 3-point attempts. And I think they looked at it like, tonight, we're not matching the physicality. We have to try to beat them with our 3-point volume. And for the most part, it kept them in until it collapsed in the second half. And universally, all the players across the board after the game said that they got good shots. They liked the looks they were getting. Even Joe Mazzulla said it, the shots just weren't falling. But we also heard that a little bit after the first game in Oklahoma City, where they blamed the shot making and the spacing, where tonight, I mean, they just got beat physicality-wise. And that's an issue where it's something the Celtics want to pride themselves on. They want to be the better defensive team, and they just weren't that tonight. And that's probably the most legit part about Oklahoma City is their defense. Like, they were incredible tonight. The way they rotate, they close out. Everyone's going 100 miles an hour the whole time. There's no holes in that defense, and it reminds you a lot of Boston.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we were sitting next to each other in the press box, and when they were going into a zone in the first half, and it was really smothering the Celtics, they were at times still finding the open guy on the perimeter, and oftentimes that guy would be Derek White or Jason Tatum. Sometimes they make the shot, sometimes it was Drew Holiday, and he couldn't get there. And I think that that's what's tough with the place where the Celtics are right now, where you do have guys like Drew and Jalen banged up. You have Kristaps not even in the lineup right now, and that depth goes kind of quickly.
You mentioned that zone. You would have loved to have Kristaps Porzingis here tonight. I mean, that's why they went out and got him. Miami threw so much zone at them in the postseason. They were tired of succumbing to it. They went out and got Kristaps Porzingis to bust the zones, and you pretty much can't run zones against Boston when they have Kristaps Porzingis on the floor. So for everyone that's kind of looking at the Celtics postseason, like, oh, how important is Kristaps Porzingis? Well, that's why he's so important, especially against a team like Oklahoma City that can defend so many versatile ways. That's a big thing. That's a big thing that they're going to need.
Absolutely. So my takeaway from tonight is this is the first team, and it's no disrespect to any other teams in the NBA, but this is the first team that I think could really give Boston a run for its money in a 7-game series. I think that the Cavs have this dog in them where they love coming back from 20-plus point deficits, and they could take you to 7 games, but I'm still confident in Boston there. We saw the Lakers Saturday night. I love that matchup, but I love it for Boston. This OKC team is just, I mean, they're fighters, and it makes me a little nervous if I'm looking at Boston on the other side.
Yeah, it's definitely not a slam dunk, but again, like I said at the beginning, there's a lot of time between now and then. A lot has to go right for both teams. It takes a lot of luck, it takes a lot of skill, and it takes a lot of health to get to an NBA Finals. So if we're talking here about these two teams on June 5th, absolutely this could be something that pushes Boston. But if you have your full complement of players, including Kristaps Porzingis, it makes it so much harder. Like you said, that zone. I mean, you can't run that zone with Kristaps on the floor. So it's tough. You know, they've done a great job taking the Celtics off the perimeter. They haven't shot the ball well from 3 in any of the games against them, and that's a lot due to their rotations. But I think when it push comes to shove, and they showed a lot of maturity tonight, I still view this team as a little bit too young, right? They're the youngest team in the NBA by average years, 24 years old. And I think it kind of lines up like the Celtics against Golden State in 2022, where the Celtics were still trying to figure out how to lose, which is a thing. You have to figure out how to lose before how to figure out how to win. And Golden State was the team that had been there and done that. And I think that could be very similar in an NBA Finals situation with these two teams, where Boston's the team that's been there and done that, and Oklahoma City is still trying to figure out how to execute on those high levels. Because it's one thing to do it in March, and I'm not discrediting them whatsoever, because I'm really impressed by that team. But it's another thing to do it in June.
And they did lose to Denver Sunday.
That's right.
So we must allow for the possibility, fingers crossed, if you want to see the Celtics win the title again, that those teams out west cannibalize each other.
And
that they
eat
each other up,
there.
You know, by the time they get to the finals, whoever gets there, maybe it's a team like the Mavs last year who just run with a couple of hot hands, or maybe it's a team that's a little more depleted. I don't know. I mean, you want to see the best team out there in terms of the best basketball, but if you're just looking for a repeat championship, there is that to consider.
It feels like one of the 3 teams going to the Western Conference Finals, though, or representing the West in the NBA Finals, were here this week. Denver, Los Angeles, and Oklahoma City. And all in all, this is a successful road trip or a homestand for Boston. They go
definitely.
5-2 with big wins over LA and Denver. You know, you led big against Cleveland, and against Oklahoma City, kind of hit the end of it. And, you know, it's one they wanted to win, and it's going to fuel a lot of conversations about these two teams going forward. But all in all, I think the Celtics are pretty happy with this, especially when you're looking at the end of the season. Only 3 more games against teams with a winning record.
Yeah. All right. Well, Turp, I'm very impressed that you have June 5th just up there on the brain.
I just wrote about it. That's why.
Circled in your mental calendar. I don't know. They're like building a house behind us or something for a concert. Disturbed here. Oh my God.
Friday night.
It reminds me of 6th grade. Music I was probably not allowed to listen to. I hope my parents aren't watching. But please continue watching us on all your WEEI channels, whether it's on YouTube, whether you're finding us on Twitter or Instagram. Look at your WEI handles, because we'll be there, and we'll be there through the end of the regular season, and the playoffs are coming before you know it. Thanks so much for watching.
And June 5th.